order. Motion to come out of closed executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Motion to come out of closed by Commissioner Lessie, second by Commissioner Coleman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. So we're back out of closed executive session.
I'll make a motion to go to item E.
Commissioner Leslie has a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to add item E to executive session, which will be a vote on 479 Westway Road.
Okay. You want to make that item B1 so we can do it now?
Well, we can do it B1.
Okay. Commissioner Lessie moves to add item B1, proposal regarding 479 Westway Road. Maybe second that?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kennelly. So this is an item to, a motion to add an item to the agenda, which means we need a minimum of 5 to carry. Okay? Any discussion on the motion to add the item to the agenda? No? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, so now we have an additional item on the agenda, 479 Westway Road. We have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion, I need some help on the wording.
Okay.
I'll give it a shot.
All right.
I make a motion that we allow town council to negotiate a resolution of the suit with 479 Westway Road with the proviso that they include a detailed plan for affordable housing as part of their submission.
I think you need to add what the extensions that you want to do.
30 months? For a 30-month extension.
Okay. And any other
Stipulation.
stipulations that town council?
Council feels appropriate.
I'll second that.
So before we go on, I just want to make sure I understand. So you
I think does he need to use a microphone? Yeah? I don't know.
First of all, Stanton Lesser, Town Attorney. So it's my understanding that you are authorizing me to settle this zoning appeal by offering a 30-month extension on the condition that the plans comply with the current zoning regulations regarding affordability of multifamily units, and further that they submit an affordability plan for approval by the Commission, and also any other stipulations that I deem necessary to include. Is that the motion?
Right, and the plan should be attached to the settlement document.
Yes, that'll be part of the stipulation.
Okay?
Close.
All right?
No, that's what you
I
said.
second.
Perfect, thank you very much. So that is the motion that's been made by Commissioner Coleman and seconded by Commissioner Alessi. Commissioner Coleman, you have any comments on your motion? You want to talk about anything?
After our executive session, it seems that this is the most appropriate way to resolve this appeal of our affordable housing decision of some months ago.
Okay. Well, I'll just note for the record that no decisions were made in closed executive session. No votes were taken. That's why we came out in part to get onto the public record in an open session here to move the item and have a public discussion about the issues. The plan otherwise complies with our zoning regulations. The one thing that is not included is the affordable housing component. They are technically within an extension period which could be granted under the statute. So, I think it would be advisable for us to grant them some additional window of time on their plans, on their approved plans. And so, with the proviso that the extension is, somewhat limited. It's not the full 5 years. It's 30 months. And also that they comply with the affordable housing regulations and actually submit the affordable housing plan that's acceptable to us and attached to the stipulation. I would support the motion as made. Does anyone else have any comments?
Good, wrap it up.
Any other discussion? Okay. So the motion, I think, is well described. It is to authorize the town council. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. No.
Okay. So, item carries, 1, 2,
5 to
3,
2.
4, 5 to 2. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item C, review of outdoor dining.
Okay, in your packet is the current outdoor dining inventory. It includes 47 venues. We typically do this annually, and the conditions for renewal are consistent amongst the users that the season that the commission has granted over the years has been expanded a little bit, now runs from April 1 through the end of October. No outside music or sound system is permitted, and the tables and chairs are to be removed in the off-season. The vice chairman brought to staff's attention a particular venue that had their tables and chairs still out in the off-season, which caused us to kind of look at, revisit the entirety of this inventory, and found that about 25% of the restaurants or venues had some form of tables and chairs out. None of them were actively using them. They were just still out or on the site but stacked in the corner, everything from...
Well, they weren't using them, some could be using them.
Yeah, and there are a couple where they leave a couple chairs out because it becomes their de facto smoking lounge, because you can't smoke in the restaurant, so in the off-season, people go outside and, stand out on the patio with a drink and have a cigarette, and so there were a handful of tables and chairs, which led us to a discussion, and so I think what we need to do from a staff perspective is make a greater emphasis on that, and emphasize in there, should you choose to renew the inventory, is, further articulate in our letter that goes out that, failure to comply would likely result in them, them running the risk of not being renewed for the subsequent season. So, with that out there, I offer you the inventory list for renewal.
Make a motion to approve?
Is that with the conditions as stated?
As stated.
Thank you. Motion to approve with the conditions as stated by Mr. Wendt, by Commissioner Kennelly.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Francis. Commissioner Kennelly?
I think the staff's concern that was, I think the vice chairman's concerns are addressed by the, hopefully, staff action. Otherwise, I'll leave it to my colleagues if they have any particular concerns about any of these on the list, but in broad principle, support it.
Okay. Commissioner Barrett?
Yeah, I don't have any concerns about any specific establishments, other than what's been said already. I just to inform the commission that this is an annual recertification, so if you do have, this now would be the time to speak, because later on, if in the summer something comes up, they're certified already, so if anybody does have concerns, this is why we put it 1 year. We used to hear these like one by one all through, and it was on the agenda all the time, and now we do an annual recertification, so just for benefit of all measures. If you have any concerns about any of these or questions for staff, I would encourage you to raise them now. We can recertify some of the list if we so chose. So, but I have no issue with any of them myself. I'm just kind of explaining what I think this is.
Mr. Francis?
Am I remembering, is this April 1st to October 31st?
Correct.
Okay. And Taza,
Taza was approved to enclose theirs, so they
enclosed theirs.
can use theirs in the off-season
right,
in an
so they
enclosed
wouldn't
fashion.
really be on this list anymore?
No, they're on because they are going to take the walls off or roll them up or whatever there is, and it will act as an outdoor venue when weather permits.
Okay. And local, we didn't approve that, right?
No, you did.
So I think we have full commission, unfortunately.
It doesn't have a date here for local. Didn't we tonight? That's the one.
No,
you
it was approved, I just need to add a date in the
Oh,
list today.
we did finally approve that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there was some opposition to it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
there
maybe
was.
Mr. Francis recalled
Yeah,
that.
Anthony was the
Yeah.
one.
There was a lot of discussion about access and parking
Yeah.
and so forth.
Limited space.
Yep.
Is this list in any kind of order? I
Well,
thought it was
sta-
alphabetic.
It started out as an alphabetical list by the name of the restaurant, but over the years that we've been maintaining this list, there've been some name changes of some of the venues that have led it to become a less than alphabetical list.
Could you,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
A couple of questions.
Yes, Commissioner McLean.
So, some of them, there are a couple that say 2-year, so it's not every year, it's not a 1-year thing, as Mr. Barris just mentioned?
Yeah, that's, I can explain that. There was, outdoor dining was kind of an evolving use going back to the early 90s, were some of the very first ones that were approved. And there were some inconsistencies early on in terms of the length of time. Some were approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals, some were approved if they needed parking variance, some were approved by this commission, and there were inconsistencies in how renewals were handled. So about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, we took it upon ourselves to do an annual, rather than relying on the applicants themselves to submit for renewal, which had mixed results, some doing it, some not. We just thought it would be better for us to take it on as an annual review, and if there were any that we had issues with, or that you had issues with, or at that point, we could, cull from the list and not approve while reviewing them en masse rather than individually. So I should probably eliminate that whole column, because that's become superfluous since this commission has decided to review it annually rather
So
than...
everything on this list is annual, no matter
That's
no matter
correct.
what that says? Okay.
That's correct.
So then also the other question, on page 2, Tomato and Basil is closed,
Mhm.
and there's a new restaurant there now. Does their approval carry with the property for the next restaurant, or does
Yeah,
that?
in general, any use approval that this commission approves runs to the property, not to
Okay.
the applicant. So,
But it is an annual recertification.
I guess, there's a new guy in there now. I'm sorry?
Yeah, but it is an annual recertification.
Okay,
right?
so the new owner that's there now, if we approve this tonight for Tomato and Basil, they'll get the benefit of it for this summer?
That's correct. But,
Yeah.
next year, if Tomato and
clear.
Basil closes and a new guy
Right.
comes in, a new owner comes in
Right.
and makes some substantial changes to that outdoor dining facility that that is not consistent with the regulations, or for whatever reason we
Right.
want to not approve them, we revisit it every year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right?
I'd just like to say, echo what Mr. Wen said, which is part of the motion. I mean, there were, I think, you counted 12 people who left stuff out, didn't put them away, whatever reason. I don't think it's fair to punish them now, but I think starting next year, they're going to be on notice. Just, don't do it again. We're pretty lenient with this during the course of the year. And even when there's been really abusive violators in the past, we decided one restaurant to just, I think, we denied it for 1 month or 2
well, you all
days,
have,
something.
yeah.
Withdrew it until they
We-
became
the ultimate hammer we have, if someone goes off the reservation beyond the recertification process, and we had one example of this, and I won't name them.
We
if you
know,
want
a
me
couple
to,
of years ago.
that we took the action of revoking their liquor permit. We
Right.
have the right to notify the State Department of Consumer Protection that they're not in accordance with their approval, therefore, we revoked their approval for the patio liquor permit, which brought rather quick results.
Very quickly.
So there are other avenues of enforcement. Should an extreme circumstance arise, we have the ability to take action there
No.
beyond the 1
Yeah,
year.
but
window.
all I'm saying that, with the letter going out, that,
Yep.
just be careful next year.
Yes,
You know,
yes, no.
We're not gonna,
And I thank you
punish
for
you
bringing
this
it to our
year.
attention, but it was just something that was not
Right.
on our radar screen.
okay.
All right. Any further comments? Any other questions?
I do have one more question. So how is it, I'm just curious how the policing side of this works. What's the cutoff date, October 1st?
it's-
So do you drive around the next day to all these 25 restaurants and see if they've cleared, or does someone in your office, or like?
Yeah, what we're gonna do is at the end of the season, you know, go around, and if folks still have their furniture and stuff out,
Okay.
we're gonna tell them, hey, you gotta get rid of it, or store it someplace, or,
Good. All right.
and then we'll, you know, and if they don't, then they're likely not gonna be approved for the subsequent year.
Next year.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner Barretts.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know, I just want to reiterate, I think that's a good idea. So, I mean, this year, I think, after October 31st, if there are some violators, I would like to note them, have them named, and we could definitely, I mean, we're not going to do it tonight, it doesn't sound like we're going to do it tonight, I'm okay with that, but just say, you know, a motion could be, we approve all of these except for these three, and they don't get a certification.
Yeah,
And then if they put things out there, then it's illegal, out of compliance, and they're in violation.
We know who the most, yes.
Okay.
We will have the appropriate conversations with the folks that we think we need to address.
I wasn't as observant as the vice chairman, but I think that is good, because I know, the reason why we have this, and, you know, it just brings vibrancy to the town. We have a great outdoor dining, you know, inventory in our town. But, you know, unused tables and chairs outside just, you know, does not add aesthetically to our town, and that's what we want to.
Well, some of them weren't just the tables and chairs, it was being used as storage.
Oh.
They were literally like tables and chairs on top of tables, and tables stacked on top of each other, you know. Anyway, I think we beat this one
Yep.
to death. Are we ready? So the motion is to approve the list with conditions as stated. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is 721 Hulls Highway, request of Attorney Neil Phillips for a 90-day extension for recording a final subdivision map, second extension.
Yeah, this is the second and last extension available to this. This is a two-lot subdivision that was approved in the latter part of September of last year. I think what happened here is the contract purchaser did not end up closing on the deal, and they're trying to get a subsequent buyer so they can get the money up to post the bond. But bottom line is, they would have the last 90 days, and if that doesn't happen, then the subdivision becomes null and void.
And this is as of right.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Barretts. Any discussion?
They're entitled to it.
Yeah. And it's a fairly routine item. Anybody else? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions, and the item is approved unanimously. Next item is old business, 105 Meadowcroft Road, special exception application in the town of Fairfield pertaining to 2 modular classrooms at Holland Hill School in an A zone.
Yes, sir. Real quickly, I will outline for you what was presented to the commission at a public hearing. As the call reads, the Fairfield Public School is seeking a TPZ approval to add 2 portable classrooms at Holland Hill site to relieve overcrowding of that facility. These 2 additional classrooms will be used for the next 3 years, while the main facility undergoes an expansion and upgrade to basically address this overcrowding situation. At the conclusion of the expansion and upgrading of the project, these 2 portables and also the 3 portable classrooms that presently exist on the site would be permanently removed, and the area would be restored to the prior state. As stated in the agenda and by the chairman, this proposal is subject to receiving a special exception from the Planning and Zoning Commission under Section 27. There's permitted use in the residential zone, subject to this permit. And as you've heard in the past, the finding on this is our Section 27 talks about that the location, type, character, size of the buildings shall be in conformity and harmonized with being consistent with the existing uses being made of the property, and the location of the building shall have adequate access to fire protection, which was discussed at the hearing, and that provision shall be made for entering and leaving the property without creating any undue traffic hazard or congestion. Again, issues that were discussed at the public hearing. So those are the findings you need to make to approve this application under our special exception 27 regulations. That, Mr. Chairman, is what was presented at the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
I can make a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly,
Additions, I'd like to make.
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Barretts. Okay?
I don't have a microphone.
No, we're sharing.
No, yeah, sure. I'll swing it over here.
Quite all right.
Want to make sure we get on the record.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
We're good? Commissioner Kennelly?
I thought the case was made that some of the issues that were raised wisely by some members of this commission were addressed. Those related to safety, to the operation of the gate that controlled the site. Those questions most specifically were raised by the vice chairman, which I thought were excellent questions. So as a result, my concerns are satisfied that obviously portables are not a great answer to anything, but this is a reality of doing the renovation at this school, so I'm supporting this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Barretts?
No.
Anything to add?
Oh, no, I mean, I don't know if I have too much to add. Yeah, I support the application. I just know, I mean, you know, our role in this is, you know, these are portables, is reviewing the land use aspects of this application. You know, we do allow portables in school, but I thought the questions that we asked were good. I think there was some concern, you know, about even the phasing, like why are we hearing this? You know, why don't we see this as part of the full construction plan so we know, like, you know, how that's going to work, and they didn't really know that yet. And then it kind of was that, well, we need the portables to relieve overcrowding, which is a common situation at schools. And most of us have probably lived through a school that went through a renovation or was overcrowded or had portables or all of the above. You know, I really wasn't completely comfortable with all the answers, but I will say that, you know, in terms of safety, I know that Mr. Morobito and the Board of Education, everybody involved in school construction is as interested in safety as we are. I heard some good questions. I don't know if I heard any substantial reasons to deny this in terms of land use.
Thank you. Sure. Commissioner Alessi?
I have no problem. I don't think it's the greatest plan in the world, but I would ask Commissioner Kennelly to consider changing his motion or adding to it that the time that these portables are installed and the security fence is installed, that a security fence be put around the 3 portables in the back at the same time.
Yeah, we did discuss it. Thank you, Commissioner Francis. Just to staff, that is an acceptable motion? Then I accept that amendment to this, to this motion.
Motion's been amended to include a condition that the security fencing be added into the rear portables, you know, at the same time as they provide the security fencing for the portables that are subject to this application. Commissioner Barrett, is that acceptable to you?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The motion's been
Thank
so
you.
amended.
No problem.
No? Okay. Anyone else?
No, no comment.
All right. No, I think that's a good addition to the motion. I don't have anything further. Ready to vote? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion with conditions to approve is adopted unanimously. Okay. Next item is compliances, 433 Fairfield Beach Road, coastal site plan application of Milton Development pertaining to the construction of a single-family dwelling in the Beach District.
Okay, this is a coastal site plan. You have all the materials and a staff report here. It is a 2-story house, replacing a house that's already been demolished on the property that was storm damaged. The zoning requirements for the Beach District are complied with, and what we are reviewing now is whether or not there are any coastal resource policies that this plan does not comply with. In the staff report and review finds, at least in our opinion, that this plan is consistent with all relevant coastal resource policies, and we recommend its approval.
Okay. Thank you. Any motion? Question for staff?
I'll never figure out if this thing is on. I was struggling with the height requirements. The regs say that the height must be less than or equal to 2 stories or 30 feet, the lesser of.
Right.
And-
There is, okay, there's several elements to that. From a story height perspective, this is a 2-story building. Any portion in the beach district, in other zones were allowed 3 or 2.5 stories, which would allow some percentage of the attic to have a height of 7 feet. In the beach district, since 2 stories is the limit, none of the attic can have a height of 7 feet. So where you see dormered areas and windows in what is finished attic space, none of that floor has a height to the underside of the ridge of 7 feet. From the 30-foot perspective, there's an add-on provision to height for flood zones that allows, you have an average grade, the ground elevation, and you have a minimum elevation to which the house has to be elevated to meet the FEMA flood zone criteria. Our regulations allows a 1 foot of additional height above 30 feet for every 2 foot of that difference between grade and the minimum flood zone height. So in this case, you know, they get a couple of extra feet above 30. So they're showing, 32.8 is the maximum height, and they're allowed that extra footage above 30 because of the additional height they need to elevate the house to comply with the flood zone requirements.
That's what I found confusing, because when I spoke to you earlier and said, how do you measure a building, you said it's the
Yeah.
midpoint of the eave, which is 40.66 feet.
Right.
And so that seemed like too much of an increment to account for that bump you get over height over the flood.
Well, if you look in there's an elevation drawing in your packet there, and they show the eave, they show the highest ridge and the eave line, and the midpoint between would be the upper end of the height measurement. So they're showing what they're describing here as longest eave, and then they show highest ridge, and then they're showing the midpoint of the roof being, midway between.
So the difference between 30 feet and the 40.66 feet is all accountable?
I'm sorry, I
So
didn't hear.
the difference between 30 feet and the 40.66 feet shown as the midpoint of the roof line is due to this adjustment that one makes on the FEMA elevation?
Correct.
So if at 2 feet you can get 1 foot bump, it would be a 20-foot elevation for FEMA?
The lowest floor elevation here is 13. The average grade is 7.5. So they've added in 4, I've got to look at that. I'm having a hard time reading this
Yeah,
at
but on,
at the moment.
Put on
But
test.
it complies with how we measure height. The extra height is because of the required additional height that the first floor has to be above grade. The first floor is about 7 or 8 feet above grade. They're parking under this building. It's an open, there's kind of lattice shown there, but it's an open foundation. There's nothing enclosed at grade level. So a storm wave would come up and over the beach and right through that lower level. There's no living space there. They can park cars under there, but there's no living space. So where you've got what is about 10 feet above the ground is the first living space. So there's 2 stories of living space above an open trellis foundation.
and then the 10 feet is added to the height as an allowable height?
Yeah,
Okay.
the height to the midpoint, it's graphically shown in a confusing fashion here, I would agree with you. But the midpoint of that roof is 30 feet plus the half of the delta between the grade and the first, in the lowest structural member.
Okay.
I think what might be confusing, if you look at the string measurement up the side, it says 32 feet 4 inches building height.
Yes,
That's from grade.
right.
That really should be from the first finished floor, correct? Because if you measure the first floor height, 17 feet, and then 27, and then 37 feet at the attic floor.
Yep.
That's off grade, so I think that's what's confusing. It says 32 feet there, but it really should be, that bottom tick line should probably start at the first floor. That would clear everything up, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think this, yeah,
With that, would you like to make a
it
motion?
really should have that there. That's what they consider.
I move to approve it.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Kennelly. CAM report is clean, and staff advises approval. Anybody have any other questions? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the application is approved unanimously. Next item is public hearing, 25 Dunhill Drive, special exception application of James and Magdalena Noletti pertaining to the construction of a single-family dwelling in the floodplain district.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Gray, and Bologna. I'm here tonight representing Jay and Maggie Noletti, owners and residents of a single-family home located at 25 Dunhill Drive. This is a single-family home across from the par 3 golf course. It's located in the floodplain district. Floodplain district is an extremely unusual district, and it incorporates the R2 zoning regulations and therefore requires a minimum lot area of 14,000 square feet. Property here contains 6,891 square feet, or less than one-half the minimum lot area requirement for the zone. The intent of the applicants is to demolish their existing home, construct a new FEMA-compliant home. My clients are not developers, they're homeowners. Their intent is to construct a new home for their hopefully soon-to-be growing family. The floodplain district regs not only require the implementation of R2 zone standards, but also require the submission of a special exception application to this commission in order to permit the construction of a single-family home. There are, at least as I can best recall, no other residential zones in the town of Fairfield that require a special exception in order to construct a single-family home. I assume this is because of the nature of the floodplain district, which is by definition a sensitive area. There's also, to my knowledge, only one floodplain district in Fairfield, and that's this one, located basically between Fairfield Beach Road on the south, South Pine Creek to the west, a small area almost reaching Oldfield Road on the north, and to the east by various streets, including Reef Road. As I read it, the intent of this section is to protect the marsh area. This is an area filled with Phragmites or cattails, and certainly new construction in this area needs to be carefully monitored. However, this application relates to an existing building lot. Indeed, this street, Dunhill Drive, contains 5 single-family homes, including the corner lot, and again, to my knowledge, it's the only residential street totally enclosed within the floodplain district, and it consists of single-family homes. As I noted earlier, this house at present is not FEMA compliant, the proposed new home, very importantly, will be FEMA compliant. Given the size of the lot, which again is 6,891 square feet, less than half the minimum lot area of 14,000 for the R2 zone, which standards are applied to the floodplain district, the applicants have applied to and received approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for various items relating to the construction of a new home. I'll soon hand out a packet of material, including a copy of that ZBA approval from January of this year. That approval relates to setbacks, coverage, and floor area. It's important to note that the primary residential zone in this area and the appropriate zone for a building lot of this size, 6,900 square feet, is the Residence B zone, which has a minimum single-family lot area requirement of 6,000 square feet. The coverage request and the floor area request made to the ZBA comply with the Residence B zone. That, I believe, is the primary reason the Zoning Board of Appeals granted the Noletti's variance request in January. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hand out some material. If you take a look at the handout, the first is a copy of the ZBA approval. Next, you will find a copy of the Town of Fairfield zoning map. The Dunhill Drive is located in the lower left-hand portion. It's very difficult to see. I tried to mark it in green, lower left-hand. The Residence B area was highlighted to show first that the lot on Dunhill Drive is in general conformity with the lots in the Residence B zone, and secondly, that the primary zone of similar lots in the area is Residence B. This was submitted to ZBA. The last submission is a copy of the petition submitted to ZBA. It shows that virtually every house on Dunhill Drive supports the proposed construction of a new home. There's one homeowner who did not sign the petition and whose lot is not colored in on the last page where the X marks the Noletti's lot. But that person expressed no objection to the application, but just stated that she did not sign petitions.
No. Nine?
Assessor's Lot 96, yes. Correct. Most importantly, every abutting owner to the lot did sign off in favor of this proposal. In this set of circumstances where you have this very unusual zone, and then a house completely within this unusual zone where zoning standards are applied for a property twice the size, I think the opinion of neighboring property owners is very relevant. Proposed home was a handsome design prepared by BCRD LLC, an architectural firm with offices in Oxford, Connecticut. Quality materials are being utilized. New home will be fully FEMA compliant, which certainly is an important consideration in the floodplain zone. Given the approval of the variance, this proposal here meets the relevant zoning regulations, and for those reasons, I request the application be approved. Mr. Noletti is here with me tonight. We would be happy to answer any questions the Commission may have. We would appreciate the speedy application on this application, if possible, given the unusually sparse nature of your agenda tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard on this item? No? Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Attorney Fitzpatrick. I'll close the public hearing on this item.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, if, it is early, seems pretty straightforward. Yeah. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to add to the agenda for, to go back into executives, a public executive session
Correct.
first, and can I combine that with consider the matter?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to go back into public executive session for us to consider the matter of the application before us, 25 Dunhill Drive.
Okay.
Application for a special permit.
All right, motion by Commissioner Kennelly, second by Commissioner Alessi. Does anyone have any discussion on the motion to go back into public session, executive session, and add this to the agenda? No? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is 25 Dunhill Road. I put my agenda away. Dunhill Drive, 25 Dunhill Drive.
Dunhill Drive,
For
special exception.
special exception application to build a single-family home by Naletti. There we go.
Oh,
Got it.
yeah, oh, yeah, okay.
25 Dunhill Drive, special exception application of James and Magdalena Naletti pertaining to the construction of a single-family dwelling in the floodplain district.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly and seconded by Commissioner Alessi. Commissioner Kennelly, any comments?
You know, I'm always careful about what I'm going to, what I'm going to approve, especially when I'm, going to be understanding that I'm adding a, greater mass, et cetera. But, some of this stuff, is to some extent is foisted upon, especially the height down there is now a matter of, essentially federal regulations. So even though I'm not in love with the growth and the height in the beach area and how these properties tend to dwarf the lots they're on, I don't like it as a matter of aesthetics. I have to accept the science behind what the federal regulations have pushed for. That said, for me, probably the most compelling information provided is what appears to be the reaction of the surrounding neighbors. If there was pushback here and we were to, drill down and look at this, I'd have to consider, kind of the harmony test here, but is it a match? But I think what has been demonstrated by council is that there is neighborhood support for this, probably because no one wants a structure that, come the next bad storm, could become a real eyesore, a real mess. So for those reasons, I'll support it.
Thank you. I suppose on the first motion, I should have said that, we don't typically entertain requests to add things back onto our agenda. I should have said this when we had the first motion. There are some cases where it's fairly straightforward. So this is a special exception. So I mean, technically, we need to find harmony with the neighborhood, doesn't impair home values, all that kind of stuff. This is an attractive house, and it is well designed. They gone through the proper procedures. The neighbors all signed off on it. I think it is in harmony with the neighborhood, and I do think that the petition signed by all the adjoining landowners is very compelling and persuasive evidence on those points of the test for a special exception. So I'm in favor. Commissioner Barron's?
Yeah, I mean, it's replacing one single-family dwelling with another. The only reason it's a special exception, I guess, is because it's in the floodplain district. The attorney explained some of the uniqueness of this street and this district. Again, I don't have an issue with this. It's just kind of interesting that our floodplain district, because I was reading that applies the kind of an arbitrary, it's not arbitrary, but it just says the R2 standards apply to the floodplain district, kind of regardless of what kind of street it is. And so basically it even complies with the zoning regulations, I believe, once you consider all the variances that have been granted by the ZBA. So, point was made about that, but it's strange our R2 regulations apply, even though it's whatever. It complies with as proposed, it complies with our regulations, including all the variances. So I have no issue with the special exception application.
Okay, ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The application is granted unanimously. No other business, I'll adjourn the meeting.